again the economy.
We're in the midst of a serious financial crisis.
Today, the eyes of the world are on Wall Street. The Dow dropped more than 300 points. Many would say unsettling turn of events on Wall Street over the weekend. The collapse of one investment bank, the takeover of another. The world's largest insurance company announcing a major restructuring to try and stay afloat. The government is bailing out insurance giant AIG at a potential cost of $85 billion.
The Bush administration have reached a tentative deal on the $700 billion rescue plan for the ailing U.S. economy.
The reality is that we're in an urgent situation.
Japan's stock market had plunged more than 9%, Hong Kong 8%, and Britain 5%.
The global financial meltdown comes to Iceland. The government in this tiny island in the North Atlantic seizing the country's second largest bank, fixing the exchange rate of its plummeting currency, and begging Russia for a loan of almost $5.5 billion. All of this part of a scramble to stop the nation's economy from collapsing.
Any business advertising a job is being flooded with some of the 11.5 million Americans who are unemployed. January's job cull was the worst in more than 3 decades. Employers axed 600,000 jobs. The last 4 months, more than 2 million Americans have been thrown out of work.
The World Bank has no hesitation in declaring recession for the global economy. The bank's forecasting the first worldwide contraction since World War II.
World leaders at the G20 summit look set to declare an end to the era of banking secrecy. Their aim and their hope is to stop an economic crisis of the current magnitude ever happening again. While they argue over the fine print, anti-capitalist demonstrations have turned violent. 1 person died and 60 others were arrested.
European leaders met in the face of a crisis. Greece is struggling with massive debts and it's undermining the health of the single currency, the euro. The problem is this: Greece needs to find 53 billion euros this year to stay afloat.
Protesters have clashed with police outside Greece's parliament as the government approved a harsh set of austerity measures to save itself from bankruptcy.
The trade-off for the $156 billion bailout translates to lower wages and pensions and higher taxes. While it's Greece that's facing the abyss, Europe and the world economy could also be in need of salvation.
because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America. The challenges that tomorrow will bring are the greatest of our lifetime. 2 wars, a planet in peril, the worst financial crisis in a century.
Rocket and mortar attacks on southern Israel continue. Since a 6-month ceasefire ended a week ago, hundreds of projectiles have landed in fields and towns around the Gaza Strip. Israeli leaders are ramping up their rhetoric. In the strongest words yet, the Prime Minister has warned of a forceful response.
I can tell you, we have the power, we have enormous power. We can do things which will be devastating.
Mourning the dead in the Gaza Strip as Israel continues to bomb the territory for a 3rd consecutive day.
Israeli forces once more on the attack in Gaza after a patrol was hit near the border. This jeep was the target of a roadside bomb.
We do not intend to ignore events such as the one which occurred today. We will not allow Hamas and its allies to continue with hostile actions, and we will respond.
Israel's Prime Minister has again been urged to stop building Jewish settlements in disputed areas.
In this Arab neighbourhood of Jerusalem, protesters are trying to stop Jewish hardliners from moving in. This city has now become the line in the sand between Israel and the United States in their standoff over settlements. Benjamin Netanyahu wouldn't be the first Israeli Prime Minister to defy the United States on settlements. But it's been some time since the US took such a firm line with Israel.
For 8 years, Israel has been able to ignore that pressure thanks to the support of George W. Bush. But he and his support are now gone, and the new White House isn't hiding its agenda.
Israel has to work toward a 2-state solution. You're not going to like my saying this, but not build more settlements, dismantle existing outposts, and allow the Palestinians freedom of movement based on their first action.
Israel's Prime Minister has caved into pressure from the United States with a landmark concession to support Palestinian statehood, but it comes with strict conditions.